Good morning, dolls, and welcome to Little Gretchen's workshop. So this video is way overdue. So I'm making some curtains for the parlor for Christmas. Now they're already installed in the video footage that you saw previously in the What Dolls videos for episode 9 and 10. Now that wooden piece is actually what I use as curtain rod to mount my curtains on. Now it's actually a scrap from a previous build, but the size was perfect, so I'm going to salvage it. And here I am earnestly trying to use my new ruler to make measurements for my new curtains. And very quickly I felt like the ruler was more of a prop on my table, and I defaulted to what felt natural. I snipped the part of the curtain where I wanted to cut it and laid the ruler to the side and really went to work. So I took my beautiful fabric, folded it in half, and cut it where the fabric actually had been folded, which seemed to be the most logical place to cut it for me. And after I cut it, I had two nice sized pieces that seemed perfect to be the panels for my new curtains for the parlor. Now I want you to take note that this fabric is very similar to the fabric that I used to reupholster the broken chair. And it's actually from the little bundle of fabric that was given to me by my dear friend Nessie Monster Crafts. I will leave a link in the description of her channel and when we did the swap for this fabric. So now that I have my two panels all ready to go, it's time for me to hem them. Now dolls, when I say hem, I absolutely am not talking about sewing. There is no needle and thread involved. I use Aleene's tacky glue, which is my favorite for making all sorts of fabric things for my doll houses and my glue of choice for dressing my dolls. Now when making my curtains, I make a really shallow hem on all sides of the panels that I cut to make sure I don't have any frayed edges. Now after all four sides of both my panels are complete, I started to play around with how I would space the gathers of my beautiful fabric on my salvaged makeshift curtain rod. Now notice the rod is quite a bit smaller than the actual panels, and that's because you're going to need your panels to be big enough that when you gather and bunch them together, they'll look full and rich, not skimpy. There's nothing worse in decorating than skimpy curtains up at the window. So in this frame, I'm trying to determine how I'll make the valance to go across the top of the two panels. Now I am showing this piece of beautiful sheer lace-like fabric. It's really lovely, and I think it'll be nice to hang behind the drapes to blur out my life-size world outside the dollhouse. And my idea is to lay it onto the rod behind the two panels to give the window dressing another dimension, another layer. Now in the midst of playing with that sheer piece, I did have another lovely piece of lace that I'm going to use to finish the fabric at the top, or to finish the valance at the top to give it a decorative element that picks up the sheer fabric, and it's going to add more length to the valance and make it look more finished. Now I decided not to scrunch up the lace, I just wanted to cut it straight. So I'm going to try to cut it the same width as the curtain rod, but the same length as the two green panels. And after I quote unquote measured it, I cut it straight down the middle. Now I'm actually preparing the piece of lace fabric to glue it onto the bar to hang just behind the two green panels. I'm adding my tacky glue directly to the rod, and then I literally smushed the sheer fabric right into the glue on the rod. And as usual, to make sure it was secure, I added additional glue. And now I'm going to leave that to dry. So now that both of my green panels are dry, I'm going to kind of play around with the design. Now I definitely know that I want the sheer panel to be behind it. So let me adjust my camera so you can really see what I'm trying to do here. And here's the piece that I've chosen to be my valance. So dolls, I want to be totally transparent about my process. I didn't have a full plan for the design of this window. I just knew that I wanted it to be more prominent and grand than the actual window. The window in the parlor is very plain, very basic, like all the rest of the windows in the house. Now here I am just adding the water and glue solution to the panels. And after I've saturated the panel, I shape it onto a cardboard piece that's covered with packing tape so that it won't stick. And I shape the curtain into the shape that I want it to have when it's actually hanging on the window. And again, dolls, I create this effect by sticking the straight pins in to make my gathers and then draping the rest of the panel at the bottom to give the illusion that it's pinned back and it's hanging. Now I want you to take your time with this. Don't rush through it. This is edited video and it took me a lot longer to do this than what you see here in this video. Take your time to arrange and pin your drapes because you want them to be in the shape exactly the way you want them to hang on the window. Not sure why, but when I get close to completing a project like this, I always begin to stick my pinkies out, so I already know that I'm almost done. Now that they're all pinned and in order, I'm going to give them a chance to dry, but I just wanted you to see what they look like at this stage. So now I generally allow my curtains to dry overnight because I want them to be solid and firm before I begin to assemble them with the rest. So let's work on the valance. So dolls, I really want you to see what happened in this process. My original design was to cut the lace fabric wide, but I cut it kind of narrow. So I had to compensate for that, and here I am struggling with the valance. So I just wanted to leave this here so you could see my process that I originally thought to do the stripes horizontally on the valance, and then I thought about draping it and cascading the fabric, and finally I concluded to cut a piece of fabric that the stripes went vertically to align with the direction of the panels. So I went on and created a very thin hem on 3 sides of the valance. And after I hemmed the 3 sides, I went on to add that lovely piece of lace to the 4th side to finish it off and lengthen the valance. Now you can see the glue, but it will dry absolutely clear. So here are my panels after they've dried overnight. I'm removing the pins and the panels are nice and firm. Here's my lace centerpiece. And here's my lovely valance. So now let's go ahead and assemble these pieces and create my full window dressing. So dolls, there's the lace piece. It's already glued to the rod. And I'm going to just let this play and allow you to see me assemble the full dressing. I always do dry fit, try fit before I actually start adding glue. I lay everything in place to see if it's going to fit the way I imagine it based on my precise calculations. And after I feel like I'm comfortable that everything will fit right, I start to glue it. Now you definitely want to use an ample amount of the glue so that it will adhere securely. Now make sure you apply consistent pressure when you're pressing your drape panels into the glue to make sure that they catch all the fabric. You definitely don't want any bunching or gapping in your panels. Make sure you line them up so that they're even all the way across. Now I did leave a space in between there because I do want you to be able to see the sheer fabric, and you see me adjusting it and wrapping it around the edge so that I cover up all of the wood to the actual curtain rod. Now that the panels are on top of the lace, I found a cute little piece of ribbon that I thought would be really nice as a tie back. It's the perfect size, and I think it really coordinates well with the laces that I'm using. It's really exciting how things come together where you have all the things you love and you didn't buy them together and you didn't plan them to go together, but they just work because they're all things that you love. Now this is the back of the curtain so you can kind of see what's hidden. And now we're going to add that beautiful extended valance with the lovely lace. Now dolls, pay attention. I'm fearlessly just adding glue all the way across the top of the lovely panels I just created. But it doesn't matter because it's going to be hidden behind the valance. This glue is going to dry. It's not going to stain or come through the fabric because it's a really nice weight fabric, so it's going to cover it seamlessly. You won't be able to see the glue. It's just going to look smooth and neat and nice, as though, again, it's going to almost look like it's a cornice with curtains behind it. Now you definitely want to apply firm, consistent pressure to make it connect with the glue. But after the air gets to it a little bit, it'll become more tacky and it will adhere better. And if all else fails, add more glue. So this is the completed window dressing. So let's go ahead and put it in the rooming house. So here's the parlor window without window dressing. Very plain, very basic. Never underestimate the power of window dressing. It's like ribbons in a little girl's hair. The oversized window dressing makes the window look more grand, makes the room look warmer and more cozy and inviting. Oh, let me show you what it looks like with the lights off. There's my beautiful fire, and you can see the Christmas lights on the Christmas tree. And that fire is compliments of my friend Wendy Waggy. Now, dolls, if you enjoyed this video today, let me know in the comments. Also, like, share, and subscribe. And I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next episode of Little Gretchen's Workshop. Bye bye now, dolls.